MultiSoft, we worked with for, gosh, what, 10 years now? About a decade. And probably 50 to 75 clients over the years, maybe more.
Yep.
Okay, both national and international. And he has a great message to deliver. It'd be a little different insight into the industry than you heard from Jerry. Both very viable, but both have a little bit different insights. So take it away, Bob.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Good afternoon. Okay, I know everybody had carbs for lunch. I know you heard from the attorney. Let's try it one more time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
One more time. I know this is not an Amway convention. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There we go. How are you guys doing today? So, I know, Jerry spoke from a tech stack point of view, which I'm really glad he did because I don't like doing tech stack point of views. And I know Brian Palmer did tech stack. Again, I'm not going to do the tech stack. What I want to talk to you guys about is something a little bit different. Outsourcing your technology. Unless you guys are going to plan on building it in-house. And I don't know what Jerry spent, but I can tell you we've spent millions of dollars over the last decade or 20 years on building our software to the tune of well more than $10 million. So you guys can build it yourself or you can outsource it. Who here is spending on building their own software? Outsourcing? If you didn't raise your hand, you're not doing something. You either build or you outsource. Or who's going to buy their own software? Wow, okay. I'm going to try to get you guys going. All right, so here's the things I want to say. Well, first of all, the numbers don't lie. I think I skipped a slide. When you're looking for MLM software, just go to Google, not right now, and look for MLM software. You're going to get 1.5 million results when searching for MLM software. I'm going to give you another number, and you guys don't want to hear this number, but you need to hear this number. 90% of all MLM companies fail, which means 9 out of 10 of you that launch a company have a chance of failing. I can tell you we've launched 786 companies over the last 10 years. 88 of them are still in business. 88 still in business. And it doesn't have to do with compensation plans, and it doesn't have to do with software. It has to do with 4 other reasons. And I'll tell you guys want to know what the 4 reasons are that multi-level marketing companies fail?
Yes.
You ready to write these down? You're going to love these words because they're not what you think they're going to be. Number 1, greed. Number 2, stupidity. Number 3, arrogance. And the hardest one, and it doesn't exist in our industry, ego. Typically does not have to do with the MLM software company, because if the MLM software company does fail you, you've got the chance to pivot to another MLM software company. Jerry and I we've traded clients over the years, 3 times is the number of times that the average company will switch to another MLM software company before finally finding a home that they want to stay at. It's kind of like getting divorced. How many of you want to get divorced 3 times in your life and hope the 3rd spouse is the right one? Now, I happen to have been divorced twice and married the 3rd woman. We're celebrating 25 years next year. I hit it right on the 3rd time. But I had to fail 2 times. How many of you want to fail? Because you don't get a second chance at the first impression in this industry. So I want to give you some hints, tools, suggestions, ideas on what to look for in an MLM software company to avoid going through the divorce, okay? There's 2 reasons that the MLM software company is going to fail you. Lack of communication. Tends to be the same thing in a marriage. Because I can tell you the reason my first 2 marriages failed 25 years ago, we stopped talking. We stopped communicating. I'd rather have a client, like Adrian here, that I hear from every day, or somebody like Kelly that I talk to once a month, even though she's not a client yet. We've been talking for, a year now? Okay? I'd rather be engaged in the fight, engaged in the argument, because I know if the 2 people, if we're still engaged, there's still a good chance we're going to work together. The moment we start talking, and we stop hearing from you, and you stop hearing from us, guess what? You're probably looking for another software company. And mismanage expectations. These are the 2 reasons that your MLM software company will fail you, or you will fail your MLM software company, because it's a 2-way street. This is a relationship-based business. You're getting ready to get into a business with a software company that's kind of like marriage, and one of my slides is going to talk about that. You guys want to know how to avoid that?
Yes.
Spend more time asking questions. How many people in this room went out on 1 date and married their wife the next day? Or 2 dates or 3 days. Typically, you probably spent 3, 6, 9, 12 months together learning about each other's habits, their idiosyncrasies, what you liked, what you didn't like. It's the same thing with the software company. Make sure that you're spending time in discovery, asking them questions, and that they're asking you questions. In fact, they should be asking you more questions about your product, your service, your compensation plan, your website design, your third-party integrations, your logistics, your 3PL, like Jerry said, third-party logistics. Your software company should ask you more questions. The question shouldn't be, what's your budget? And the second thing I didn't say, put there, make sure in your contract that you get everything in writing. If you spoke to a software company on the phone and they said, yeah, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, and we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, and it comes the day of your software delivery, and this and that and this and that aren't done, whose fault is it? It's not the software company's fault because you didn't get it in writing. Okay? Even a marriage contract goes in writing. Again, you guys are hearing me relate, walk back to marriage and relationship here. Get everything that's been told to you in writing. Even when you're going to change your software, and I guarantee you 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in, a year in, 5 years in, like Mike said, every year or two, again, we would come to them, spend a couple hours, talk about what they should change, then not do anything, and then go golfing. You're going to want to change things. So whatever it is today and in the future, get it in writing in the form of an addendum. How many of you think this is what software is going to feel like? How many of you are really comfortable with what your software should do? By show of hands. 100% comfortable. It's probably the most nervous feeling you're going to have. You're getting ready to spend what could be $2,500 a month, what could be $5 or $10 or $15 or $20,000 to set up, and then hope you're going to get everything. And you're nervous because you don't know everything that you're going to need. It shouldn't feel like going to the dentist to get your software. If the first question out of what you'll never hear from Jerry or Solomon or myself or Tony, our director of sales, who wasn't able to be here today, the first question is never going to be, what's your budget? How many of you ever walked onto a car lot and the salesman said, oh, you're here to buy a car, what's your budget? And you said $30,000. How many of you ever walked off that car lot spending less than $30,000? Because if they be financing, you'd be buying, right? Don't let the software company ask what your budget is. What they need to find out is, what do you need? And before they can find out what it's going to cost, please don't ask us, how much does the software cost? Now, between Trinity and MultiSoft, we've got some little bit differences in how we do our pricing, and I'm sure we'll each talk to you about that, but it shouldn't be that expensive, okay, to get started. But don't ask us before we understand what your needs are, before we go through discovery, before we've asked all of the questions, how much does the software cost? We can give you our monthly fees. That's easy. Jerry's got his monthly fees. We've got our monthly fees. They're scalable. There's different things that we do. Monthly fees are easy, even to the point I think you're doing transaction-based fees now. I don't know if you're doing that. We're doing transaction-based fees. The industry is changing. Multi-level marketing is swimming down to affiliate programs. It's converting over to party plan programs. Affiliate programs are swimming up to MLM companies. So telling you what our monthly fees are, that's easy. But what the setup fee is going to be until we know what's your website design requirements, what's your merchant account requirements, what's your integration requirements. If you say, hey, we're going with Credo, and you talk to Brian Palmer, yeah, I'm trying to do as many call-outs as I can here, guys. If you talk to Brian Palmer, okay, we know that it's integrated. If you talk to another software company or application company that we haven't integrated with, and you don't tell us, or we don't know, how can we give you a price for the software until we look at their APIs, their programming, and find out what it's going to take to do? So again, you need to, don't ask that question, what's the software going to cost? Are you going to use Avalara as a sales tax solution? Are you going to use CMS and Nexio and Bailey Gordon? I'm going to keep doing call-outs. If you use the vendors that are in this room, it's like Brian said earlier, everybody in here's work together. Try to use everybody that's in this room because we're already working together. We're probably already all seamlessly integrated. But please don't ask, what is the cost of the software before you're ready to go? Okay. This is probably the number one issue that we get. We get a phone call, we do the discovery, we do a quote, We tell them what it's going to cost to get it done. And then the next thing is, oh, by the way, we need to be launched yesterday. At least once a week, and Tony and myself and Andrew and Steve and our sales team will ask, when do you need to be launched? Well, we started selling our product a month ago, but we haven't delivered it. We've been taking checks in and we've been manually drawing out the genealogy, so we really need to be launched tomorrow. That's going to be expensive because, first of all, nobody can launch you in one day. Okay? Software can be deployed in a day, but you need to plan 30, 45, 60 days to get all these things done. So don't wait until the last minute to engage the software company. Talk to Trinity, talk to MultiSoft. And you should shop around, talk to other companies, get other quotes and other proposals, but don't make a final decision until you've done enough due diligence. Talk to their clients. Okay? If you talk to a software company, ask to talk to 3 or 4 of their clients, talk to their vendors. And especially if you don't pick one of us, make sure that you talk to their vendors, find out who they're integrating with, talk to their customers, talk to several customers, and find out, is this really the software company you want to be working with? But you need to properly plan 30, 45, 60, sometimes 90 days if you've got third-party integration. Like, Dr. Kelly and I were working on an LMS integration. It's a brand new integration. It's an integration that she and her partner, Dr. Cooper, brought to us. We know that's going to take us 30 to 45 days to roll out. So, again, managed expectations are not, we need to be launching yesterday. So it was interesting. I was talking to Holly outside a little bit ago, and we were talking about the different software companies out there, and she works with a number of software companies, and she made a comment to me that actually is similar to marriage. And she said, Robert, any software company is only going to have 80% of what the client needs. It's kind of like a marriage. You know why people get divorced? Because couples go looking for the 20% that their spouse doesn't have. And then they find that other spouse that have the 20% and find out they don't have the 80%. Software companies, thank you for saying that, Holly. The software company you're going to pick, whether it's us or Trinity or somebody else, probably only has 80% of what you think you need to have in 6 months, a year, 2 years to be successful. But make sure that you select a company that can scale and grow you there. You may not have everything you need today. You don't need everything on the buffet to launch a company today. What you need is good technology and good partners and good relationships and good replicated websites, sites that load properly, that calculate commissions, that perform transactions. Those are the things that you need today. All of the other add-ons and widgets and gizmos and gadgets you don't necessarily need to have for several weeks or several months. But again, like a marriage, age does matter. How long have they been in business? We've been around 35 years. Jerry, how many years? A little over 20. 35 years. So between us, 55 years. I know some software companies that are out only for a year or two, and they look really good. They've got great front ends, but we both know the problem that happens when all of a sudden you go to 20,000 distributors or 30,000 distributors or 100,000 distributors, and you're running a binary compensation plan that has to do recursive math, and then recursive the math again. So new software companies may look really cool because they're on the latest technology and they've done a really nice GUI on the front of it, but they don't know what it's going to be like if they haven't put on 100,000 or 500,000 or 1 million distributors. So age does matter in this industry. When you're talking to a sales software company, that last part is going to be really important. When you sign the contract and you sign on the line that is dotted, how long are you signing for? Is it a month-to-month contract? Is it a quarterly contract? Is it an annual contract? And what happens when the relationship goes bad? How do you get out of that contract? Let's say you've signed a contract with a software company that's not one of us, and you've committed to $15,000 a month. 3 months in, they're not meeting your needs, and you need to leave, and it's a 12-month contract. It's going to cost you $180,000 to get out of that contract. And guess what? They own your data. If you haven't got it in the contract, contractual agreements in our industry are very important, okay? As Steve and Spencer will tell you, make sure that you own your data. I've seen nightmare companies that we've taken over. I had one client about 12 years ago was switching to our company from another software company in another country. They went to get their data. We gave them an example of the spreadsheet to get. The software company said, oh, you're switching. They said, being the honest person he was, yes. They said, great, we're going to charge you $10,000 for your data. And until you pay the $10,000, we're not going to give you the data. Now, fortunately, they didn't pay us the data. I have a really good CTO that, let's just say, managed to get the data. But we didn't have the security things that in place, back then that we do have today. So the divorce is really important. The compensation plan. Okay, this is typically, sometimes the last thing people think about is the compensation plan. It's one of the most important things to think about because whoever software company you're going to work with, and I can tell you, we've seen every compensation plan that Mike's done, okay? But they may come up with a compensation plan that another software company says, yeah, we can do this compensation plan, but they've never done it before. Or they don't have a relationship with Mike or with Garvin. Garvin will tell you how many times our team calls him. We've got a conference call on Tuesday because there's a comp plan change that we don't understand, and we want to make sure that we're properly quoting this and discussing this. So having that relationship where I can pick up the phone and say, hey, Garvin, we need to get on the phone, our comp plan director, and talk about something, you need to make sure that no matter what it is, binary, unilevel, stair-step breakaway, which is stair-step takeaway, matrix, is it coded bonuses, which really not popular, but you got to make sure that your software company understands that. And how do they understand it? By having them repeat it back to you, or by properly documenting it. And like we will take Mike's comp plans, and our clients will just sign off on them because we understand that comp plan. But somebody else brings us a comp plan we don't understand, we're going to redoc that compensation plan. We're going to make sure the client reads it. We're going to usually have our comp plan director, assistant, or manager on the phone and tell that client back what the ranks are, what the requirements are, what the rewards are. Make sure the company, whichever company you pick, understands your compensation plan and can relate it back to you. Number one thing, how many of you are planning on just being in the United States and only being open Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock? By showing us. Not one person working banker's hours? Oh, that's right, it's the internet. How many of you are planning on launching just in the United States? Show of hands. How many of you are planning on launching in the United States and eventually scaling your company globally, where there's about 7 billion people and there's only 315 million here? Well, what happens at 9 o'clock on a Friday night when there's a problem? How do you reach somebody in customer service? What happens when you need to make a change on a menu and you can do it sitting out here at lunchtime like we just did on his desktop? What is the level of customer service that you're going to expect? Now, most of the time, who's got Wells Fargo or AT&T? You know where the phone's being routed to, the Philippines? Well, guess what? When you call us after 6 o'clock at night, that's where we're routing to, because not a lot of Americans want to work at 9 o'clock at night. But guess what? Our customer service staff in the Philippines does. Okay? You need to make sure that you're going to have accessibility, especially during the early startup of your company. Like I said, you're going to probably spend more time with your software company, your training manager, your customer service manager, your compensation plan manager during the first 3 or 4 months with them than you're going to spend more with your family. In fact, when you launch one of these network marketing companies, it's probably best to say, honey, kids, I'll see you in 3 or 4 months. You need to make sure how they're going to handle your customer service and support. And do you have to pay for that? I know a couple software companies out there, again, I'm not going to say any names, they will actually charge you, just like insurance, use it or lose it, they will charge you monthly to buy credits to be used for customer service or support, that at the end of the month, if you don't use them, it's just like insurance, automobile insurance, if you don't use it, you lose it. So find out how they're going to handle your customer support. Are they an all-in-one solution? I think it was Brian mentioned earlier, the scalability of being able to integrate, or Mike or somebody, make sure whichever company you're working with that they're going to be able to bolt on the things that you're going to need, that they're going to be able to change with the times. I mean, who would say that software and technology and the internet is changing constantly? Who's heard of the metaverse? Who's heard of NFTs, non-fungible tokens? Guess what we're starting to get phone calls? Jerry, have you got any calls yet on NFTs and crypto? But not on NFTs? Get ready. You guys don't know what NFTs are? and the metaverse, I'm just now really starting to understand this. You can own real estate in the metaverse. You can own property in the metaverse. McDonald's and Starbucks have already bought space in the metaverse. Do you think you're going to start selling products and services in the metaverse? Imagine a training room like this in the metaverse that all of us have Oculuses on, and there's a big, huge stage that we can all see each other and we can interact with each other. Guess what? Everything is about ready to change. Now, hopefully we're not all going to sit around with Oculuses on, but you need to understand, is the software company finding out about these future things? You know, used to be you only had to have one merchant account and one payment gateway. Okay? It used to be we didn't have to worry about tokenization and fraud controls. Do we have to worry about those things, Gordon and Ben? Commission payment methods. People want to be paid out in crypto. Okay? We didn't pay out in crypto 3 years ago. Credit cards, tokenization, KYC. You guys know what KYC is? Know your customer? We now have clients using KYC that we had to find a third-party KYC because it was dictated by the merchant account provider. We need a KYC program. We had to find KYC in order to reduce their chargebacks and falsifications for people enrolling. So you need to make sure, is the company you're working with going to be here in 6 months and in 12 months and a year? Find out their limitations. Maybe they've got limitations. Okay? What is it you can do for us? And then maybe they need to transition into a different software company. I know, Holly works with some really big companies out there. In fact, she didn't know until we were talking to her. She's had a couple of our clients to transition to another provider that she worked with. The data was moved over. We didn't keep it, did we? Everything went smoothly. Nothing, we were happy to transition, and we wish them luck. I mean, I would love to be the software company that said, we launched Amway, or we launched Herbalife. But guess what? There is no software company for Herbalife or Amway. It's all in-house. They eventually buy their source code and they take it in-house. What's the technology? There's actually, if you look for software companies in the United States, there's probably 15 or 16 of us. Would you agree, Jerry? 15 or 16 are in the United States. Guess how many are outside the United States now? Nothing against India and Pakistan and overseas countries, as long as you're okay working from midnight till 9 o'clock in the morning. Because they're not going to work your hours. Find out what the technology is being used. There's some software companies out there that are still operating on 30-year-old technology. Like if you go to a website and you see the end of it says CFM, that's Cold Fusion Markup Language. What's that, 20 years old? I mean, that predates ASP and .NET. And yet there's still some software companies out there using antiquated technology that there's no updates even being done for these days. So find out what type of technology they're using. Are they using current versions of .NET? Are they using current versions of PHP? Make sure they're up on the latest technology. Third-party integration. Again, who you are today is not who you're going to be in 6 months or 12 months or 2 years, because we don't know what's going to come about in that time frame. We don't know what's going to happen with the way people are paying. Google Pay. Whoever saw Google Pay coming? Apple Pay. How would you like to have your distributors be able to sign up for a kit and use Klarna? You guys ever heard of Klarna? Or Afterpay, where you may have a distributor kit that's $400 or $500. With Klarna and Afterpay, which was technologies that didn't exist that we're now integrating to, now they'll be able to make 4 payments or 6 payments or apply for credit and buy their products and their kits right from your software. So technology and software and integrations are constantly going to change. The other thing is updates. Like with our software, I'm not sure about Jerry, with our software, every time we roll out an update, an enhancement, a new feature, or we fix a bug, and one thing I want to tell you guys, whoever you pick, there's going to be a problem. Something is going to go wrong. Don't know what it is, but something is going to go wrong. If a software company tells you nothing is ever going to go wrong, that's somebody you should light your hair on fire and run out of the room. Because all they're interested in is getting paid. Something is going to go wrong. It's a matter of the software company that you work with and the relationships that you've developed with them. How are they going to react to that? Are they just going to push it off and do it in a week, even though it's a critical item to you? Or is it going to become something important that they're going to pick up the phone and get their get the customer support team on and solve the issue? But as far as updates, Okay? When we update the code, or the code is updated, is the software company is updating their code. Like we have one version of software. It's literally version 1. We don't have version 2 and version 3 and version 4. And you bought 1, and you bought 2, and you bought 3, and you bought 4. She built 5, and then we come back and go, hey, would you like to upgrade from 1 to 5? Would you like to upgrade from 2 to 5, from 3? And hold our hands out. All of the updates are rolled in. That's how software should be. That's called a SaaS, or software as a service provider. Okay? Anybody you work with should operate kind of like an agency on the front end for the first 2 or 3 months to hold your hand and get you up there, and then on the back end, they're going to operate like a software as a service company. Again, growth, is it scalable? Is it flexible? You know, find out, have they had any clients that have put in 100,000 distributors, or 500,000 customers, or 1 million customers and distributors? Y'all want to get there. It may take time to get there, but find out from the beginning, is that company going to be able to take you where you want to go? And have them show you where they've calculated $1 million commission run, or a $500 million commission run, or where they brought in those kind of sales. I mean, I think one of our largest clients right now, here's a vertical you wouldn't even think of, mortgage industry. Whoever thought mortgages would go MLM? Or real estate, whoever heard of eXp Realty? Century 21, RE/MAX is scared out of their pants right now because eXp hit 80,000 distributors. And yet 10 years ago, they only had 600. So all of the verticals that are coming into this industry, just make sure whatever company you work with, I know I'm kind of repeating myself on some of this stuff, is scalable. That it's going to grow with you, where you want to go to. And that it's relationship based. And that they acknowledge it's not going to be perfect. Just like no relationship is perfect. Nobody in this room has a perfect relationship with their spouse or with their kids. It's 80% there. But make sure that they're willing to work on the other 20% when it's needed. What's their training like? So here you've got a brand new software application that you didn't build it yourself. If you built it yourself, along the way, you would have known what you were doing. You would have been involved in it. Okay? You would have had some skin in the game. You would have seen what was being built. You would have done some architecture documents. You would have done some UAT, user-approved testing documents. You would know what your software is going to look like. Well, guess what? When you license software from us, it's like looking at Microsoft Word or Excel for the first time. Now, if you've never looked at Microsoft or Word or Excel before, and you look at it for the first time, it can be pretty intimidating, right? Well, it's going to be the same thing with software here. The first time you get introduced to your software, it's going to be pretty intimidating. How are they going to train you on it? Do they have a training manual? Do they have a dedicated training manager? Do they have somebody that's going to specifically work with you to train you on the content, on the commerce, on the compensation plan, on how to update the website, on how to change the menu like Adrian and I did at lunchtime, how to add a new page into it, how to connect a PDF, how to add new products, how to run your commissions, how to close your commissions, there's a problem, how to reopen your commissions, how to vest a distributor maybe for a temporary time. Are they going to get on the phone and train you? Or are they going to schedule on Zoom trainings? Or are they going to throw you just a manual? Are they going to be available to you 24 hours and 5 days a week? Because let's face it, nobody wants to work on Saturdays and Sundays, but with emergency support that if or when there is a problem on a weekend, you can get hold of them. How are they going to support you? Are you going to pay for support? Is support going to expire after 30 days or 90 days? It's kind of like a car warranty when you license the software. Well, we're going to maintain and give you a warranty for 3 months, but after 3 months you have to pay for training. Is it video training? Is the video training that's done put into a library where when you hire somebody in 3 months or 6 months or a year, they can come back and look and see all those trainings again? Now, as much as, Adrian, does it irritate you having to put in tickets?
Does it irritate me?
Yeah.
I'm just not good at it.
He's not good. Adrian is not a fan of our ticketing system. But that's okay because we both discovered today we're only child, and we have only child syndrome, which means we have instant gratification needs. Okay? It means we want to pick up the phone and say something to somebody and have it resolved immediately. Well, guess what? Your salesperson that you work with, okay, it's kind of like when you buy a car, you go to your salesperson and say, hey, there's a problem with the engine. No, you take it to the engine department. You take it to the service department. You don't take it to your sales guy and expect him to fix it. But we have a ticketing system. We require everyone to use the ticketing system. If it's an emergency, and I see some heads shaking here because one of my other clients there, does not like to use the ticketing system. We require use of the ticketing system for a couple of reasons. One, you put it in a ticket, and guess what? 37 people just saw the ticket. Now you're going to get some immediate reaction. When it gets resolved, it's going to be updated in the ticketing system. It's not an email that was sent to somebody that wasn't in there yesterday and now has to respond to a bunch of emails today. So we use a ticketing system. So training, find out, is it in person? Can you fly there and see them? Can you go in person in their office, whether it's in the United States or overseas, and you have to pay for that training? Lots of questions to ask, because guess what? You're going to not know everything the software does. And you're going to get trained on it. Down to 10? Okay. Here's the biggest thing that I think. So my company MultiSoft has been in business for 35 years. I showed up on the scene 17 years ago. I bought the company 12 years ago. When I bought it, I re-architected the software that we're currently using today, and somewhere I have a blueprint. And the first line on my blueprint, because I've been developing websites for almost 20 years, for 15 years before that, the first line on my blueprint was, fire your webmaster. Because when I was doing web development, every time I wanted something done, I had to call a web developer. I had to call a designer. I had to call the DBA. Hey, can you add some fields in? Can you put up a page? Can you do a menu? So the first thing was I wanted to fire your web developer. You need to be in control. There are software companies out there that every time you need to make a change, add a product, put in a change, put in a product, edit the compensation plan, update a menu, change the logo, create a new page, they're going to charge you for that. And if it's US-based hours, you're typically paying, our billable rate for doing changes on a website, not custom programming, is $125 an hour. It's $195 an hour if we're doing custom programming. So you need to be able to update your website, update your products, update your enrollment, run your commissions, run your orders, put in new products, change your sales tax, change your payment gateway. Okay? When there's an issue with Nexio or CMS, they need to be able to update things right away. You need to be able to go in and update it right away as well. You need to be able to update your shipping in real time. You need to be able to update refunds and returns in real time. Make sure that they show you in the demonstration that you can do all these things. In fact, you should get a demo that you can go drive for a few days and test it out on your own. And go try and break the software. But to make sure that you can do everything, because if you can't do the things that you want to do, and I know, today you're just thinking about, I've got a product, I got to figure out the pricing, I got to figure out the compensation plan, oh my God, I need a merchant account, I just found I need sales tax, I got to get this trader out. The last thing you're thinking about is everything that you got to do in the software. What I'm giving you guys, hopefully that you're getting, is real world experiences from the last 17 years of running this company, of what our customers have experienced. Okay? Network marketing isn't perfect, it's just better. Okay? And software companies aren't perfect, but they should be responsive. And you should be in control. You should be able to manage your destiny. Who wants to be controlled? No, Adrian wants to be controlled. Adrian wants to control me, actually. Again, I called the ball on the old Charleston. We want instant gratification. Guys, we live in a microwave society. When you want to add a new product into your system, you want to add it today because your distributors are expecting it because you announced it 4 weeks ago that it's coming soon. And the last thing you can do is not hit those target dates. You tell your distributors and your customers, we're launching on this date. And you've made your announcements, you've done your press releases, you've got your leaders ready to go. And guess what? On that date, your software company's not ready to go. I can guarantee you, you're going to lose 50% of your distributors. Especially your big leaders. Okay? When Sean from Hannah Shea talks about bringing over these big leaders and distributors, I knew I was going to get you name dropped in here somewhere. Okay? When Sean talks about bringing over these leaders, okay, they're going to get paid $150,000, $180,000 a year to be your national sales director, your vice president of sales. They put their reputation on the line. And the reason they're getting $150,000, $180,000 grand a year or more, because they deserve it, because they're putting their reputation on the line. And you tell your vice president of sales you're going to hit a date, and then you don't hit it, his reputation just got damaged. And that's a brand damage. Okay? Those are brand, like John was talking to me earlier about brand, right? About brands. That's a brand damage when you don't hit your dates. Okay? So make sure that you guys are in control of everything. I should actually get rid of this slide, because if the software is not mobile, adaptive, responsive, it doesn't run on an iPhone and an Android, it doesn't run on a tablet that's an iOS and an Android, doesn't run on a Mac and a PC and all 4 browsers with up-to-date versions going back at least 5 years. This is probably a slide that we should get rid of, but you'd be surprised other software companies that I know, and again, I'm not going to say any names, the only way you can access their administrative areas is you have to use Microsoft. They don't support Mac. Some software companies are still so old they don't support mobile. And you've got the 20-somethings coming up in this industry. This is what, I know more people in their 20s that are making millions now than ever before because of what they have. 5 minutes? Thank you. So, again, probably need to get rid of this, but you guys know how important mobile is today. Does it support social media? Okay, we're not a social media application. Your MLM software company should be replicated websites, e-commerce and shopping cart experience, customer experience, distributor experience, phenomenal back office, calculate commissions, do sales tax, integration with logistics systems. That's what the software company should do best. Lightweight stuff, yeah, we can do integrations with social media. Are we ever going to build a social media integration? No. But you've got companies like Credo and Brian Palmer and others out there that, and again, I think Credo is the best the way that they do the social sharing, but mobile or social needs to be supported. Okay? We've got some sharing applications in our things, but you need to make sure that whatever software company that you can integrate to third-party social tools. Like part of our social integration is our distributors each get their own distributors for our clients get their own replicated websites. There's like 8 different social media platforms that they can put in. So when somebody visits their website, they can see their picture, they can see a bio, they can see all their social media. But make sure that, again, APIs, you guys should write this down. Whatever software company, APIs or application programmer interfaces, make sure they've got an open library of APIs that you're not getting charged, because I know some software companies charge access to those APIs. Okay, features versus benefits versus needs. Okay, what do you need today? Not what do you want, because what you want is going to cost you a heck of a lot more than what you need today. If you try to build the entire house perfectly into this software and every room perfect and try to imagine everything that you're ever going to be in 3 months and 6 months and a year from now, you will never launch. Projects fail. Tasks work. So don't try to manage your company as a big project because you'll never finish it. Try to manage it in bite-sized tasks. So determine today what are the needs versus what are the wants in your software. Again, company on the left, I don't even think they're in business anymore. Company on the right, I'll give a quick story. About 2 months ago, I had a client that wanted a wish list in their system. Never built a wish list in the system. I called my wife, who's the queen of online shopping. I said, hey, honey, I need a wish list system in the software. Who's got the best wish list system? Now, this slide's been up here for 4 or 5 years now. Which company do you think my wife said had the best wish list system? Nordstrom. So what did we do? We went to Nordstrom's. We worked and used the Nordstrom's wish list. We found the holes in the Nordstrom's wish list. We duplicated the Nordstrom's wish list programming and made it better. We actually found the hole, because if you go there and you're not registered as a customer and you put something onto a wish list and then you register as a customer, it forgets what you originally put on your wish list. We found that hole. Then we solved it and we fixed it. So, again, you never get a second chance at the first impression. Here's what you need to understand in this room. You will get all of what you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar. And that's why Mike Sheffield and his team and Garvin, everybody put this on. That's why I look around this room and I've got relationships with everybody in this room. Okay? These are your friends. These are the people who are going to take you from 0 to hero. Okay? But you got to, I'll leave this with the last one thing with you. I raised my children with one message. You got to give what you got to get what you give. And that's what Zig summed up. Okay, I got about 2 minutes. Any questions from anybody? Did I answer everything? Wow.
Question.
Yes.
What was that UAT thing you said?
User approved testing. UAT. So we actually write tests to test the software. on what's gonna, so a UAT is user-approved testing. It's where you actually write out what should happen when you go to this page and this happens. We write that out, we give it to a QA team. QA team uses those, tests it, and comes back and says it failed or succeeded. If it failed, it goes back to development, they redo it, goes back to QA. So UAT is a user-approved testing. Any other questions? Thank you guys for the time. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Robert.